obey their impulse, or were they going to restrain themselves and be among the group that would then keep marching? And as the Quran tells us, most of them failed the test. Most of them drained their fill. And so what was already a very small brigade became a tiny group. Just, it went down from not that strong to extremely weak now. Just a few. And after they crossed the river, even their own leader said, how are we going to do this? We're now just, we've reduced our numbers even more. How are we going to do this? And it wasn't just him, but many of the other believers looked around and said, this is impossible, it's not going to work. But then there was another group, again within those same people who followed past this original test. They had a different point of view. And this is how they are described. And it's very important to keep in mind how their defining quality. It said, those who believed with certainty that they would meet their Lord said, how often has a small group overtaken a larger group with God's permission? Indeed, God is with those who persevere. Now, if you think about this, one group had hope and one group had lost hope. And what was the difference between them? The difference was what was in their horizon. What were they seeing when they were looking out into the horizon? One group was looking at the immediate obstacles. What they saw in the horizon was Goliath. They saw a giant. And that Goliath can take many forms. Yes, it can be, in their case, an actual giant, an insurmountable foe. But who are the Goliath? What is the Goliath of our time? It can be bigotry. It can be poverty. It can be our own ego. And all they saw was that obstacle. That was their focal point. And so, understandably, they thought there was no hope. The other group didn't see Goliath only. When they looked out into the horizon, a giant was dwarfed by the majesty of God. A giant was dwarfed by the majesty of God. When they looked out into the horizon, they could hardly see the speck because their horizon, their focal point, was the meeting, not with the giant, but with the one who created it. And in that, what that focal point was, what that long-sightedness was, in that was their hope. And so it is about what we focus on. How we look, what we see when we look at our horizon. And it's interesting what they say. Not only are they focused not on the meeting with the giant, but on the meeting with God, and therefore have, out of that refocus, out of that mental horizon being reframed, they find hope and they find resilience. But then they say something very important. God is with those who are patient, who have sabr. And the word sabr is often translated into patience. I think that a better translation actually is perseverance. God is with those who persevere because they were going to keep marching. In fact, the ones who saw things as they are in the material sense wanted to quit. The ones who saw things not just in the material sense, but in the real sense of the spiritual dimensions of reality, they wanted to keep going. They wanted to march on. And yet they say, God is with those who have patience. A lot of times we think sabr means patience. And what patience often means is standing still and waiting patiently. And yet that was the opposite of what they were trying to do. They were trying to move. They were trying to march forward. They were unwilling to quit. Sabr also means perseverance. It means work. It means pushing forward even when you don't feel like it, even when it seems hopeless, even when it seems impossible. So that's the first thing that hope looks like. Hope looks like the dwarfing of the obstacle in the face of God, dwarfing the giant because your focus is on his creator. Hope also looks like courage. You know, I love this line from a Khalil Gibran poem. He says, "Work is love made visible." And if I apply it to this situation, I would say that courage is hope made visible. Because in having hope, you have courage. You have a strength inside you that you didn't know you had. And it is through the dwarfing of the giant next to God that you are able to harness this reality.